like we did before, we're going to hear a student perspective. So we're going to hear from three wonderful students who I see up top. So there's Sinead, Cara, and Kayleigh. They're going to talk us through their different experiences as students with disabilities. And we have the wonderful Quiba who's going to host this panel. So I'll hand over to you, Quiba.
Thank you, Erica. I just want to apologize if my voice is a bit croaky. I think I have a cold, but I just want to say hi to everyone, and I might get the panel to introduce themselves. So we have three students or three learners from different backgrounds. One is from a higher education third level institute, one is from a further education and training board, and then one is an apprentice. So we might get you guys to introduce yourselves and just go a bit over what your course is. Sorry. Thanks. Maybe go with Kayleigh first.
Yeah, sure. So, hi, my name is Kayleigh McNamara. I am a PLC student in Galway Technical Institute and I'm studying social studies and youth work.
And then we'll go on to Cara, maybe.
Hi, my name is Cara. I literally just finished my level 8 in social care in TU Dublin. And I was also a member of the Students with Disabilities Advisory Group in AHEAD last academic year.
What a group it is. And oh, sorry, I'll go to Sinead as well. I was about to go into what the advisory group is, but Sinead, please do
No
tell us
worries.
what you get up to.
Hi, yeah, I'm Sinead. I'm the apprentice here. I did actually really recently leave it, but I can still speak on like how good it was. I didn't like leave for any like bad reasons. I just left because I found I was a software developer apprentice, but I realized I don't want to do software. But the apprentice program is really, really good from what I have experienced.
Yes, exactly. And just like we heard in the previous talk, that routes can take different journeys. Journeys can take different routes and things can take as long as they take, I suppose. But I have a few questions here for you guys. Just like why did you choose that pathway? And I might go to Sinead because your answer might be quite interesting, seeing as you've recently changed your journey. So, why did you choose the pathway you were in?
Yes, so I had already done a BA in French and German. I didn't at the end of it, I really didn't want to do that, so I was really at a loss of what to do. So I ended up going into a level 5 PLC in creative digital technologies, and from there I found out about apprenticeships in software development, something I didn't know existed until last year. And that was a really good option because having already done a BA, it was going to be really difficult to do another one financially. So it was a really good opportunity to progress in that career path. Um, so uh, yeah, so that's why I went for it. And it was really good because it was going to give me all like the skills and qualifications that I would have needed to work in that field. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of it.
Amazing. Thanks so much. Cara, I might go into why you chose to do a higher education course.
Yeah, so when I was in secondary school, I had a lot of challenges in secondary school, but it wasn't largely the academics. It was the social demands, the sensory demands, just having to manage so many things all at once, was the challenging part of school for me. So it was a very big decision to decide to, I guess, like try university. I spent a lot of time on that choice. I spoke to disability officers from different colleges and stuff. And eventually, I chose TUD because it's a smaller class size and stuff like that. It's maybe a bit less formal than some other universities. Um, and I was really glad in the end that I did try to pursue the level 8 and that I did achieve it. It was a very big deal for me because school had been so hard. But I guess, yeah, in the end, I was happy with my choice.
That's so great. And you guys should all be so proud because no matter what you end up doing, you still took the jump to do something about it. So so impressive. And Kayleigh, I might come to you finally, especially because as an FET learner and also the disability officer of the Irish Second Level Students' Union, I feel like you would have great insight to kind of why you chose that option. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I forgot to mention in my intro that I am the Irish Second Level Students' Union Disability Officer. I'm actually the only disability officer in second level education in the entirety of the European Union. So I suppose I chose it because I was having a lot of issues with my education that my disability was kind of at a point where it was impacting my education, my ability to attend school. So the reason that I did do that, or I did choose FET in the end, was to take the stress of the leaving cert off myself. I actually sat a reduced subject leaving cert because I still wanted to have a leaving cert in some capacity. And as long as you sit one subject, you will have a leaving cert to your name. You might not be able to use it to get into higher education, but you can actually use it to get into further education. So last June, I sat 3 subjects and I got my leaving cert. And then I decided to try a PLC into forensic science. And unfortunately, I found them to not be as accommodating. And I realized that for me, it was really important that my education accommodated me as opposed to me trying really hard to try and accommodate my education and to burn myself out and stress myself out about something. So I found myself in GTI doing social studies and youth work with the most amazing supports behind me and really loving what I do. And it was really directly inspired by the fact that I was the Irish Second Level Students' Union disability officer that I found out this was, I think, what I meant to be doing.
Oh, that's so amazing. And you brought something up that actually leads to my second question, and I'm gonna swap who I went to, so you're gonna get like surprised. But how did you find accessing the supports along the way for your in your course? So, Kayleigh, you just gave such a great explanation and a great answer there. But Cara, I might come to you on how you found the supports along the way.
Yeah, I think like it's kind of similar to what Kayleigh said. I think sometimes in university the support isn't there. I would say my experience in TUD, I found the disability services really great. So through disability services, I accessed occupational therapy, which I found really helpful in finding a balance with my needs and my life and the demands of my course. And then I also accessed learning support where I got kind of some advice about the academic side of things, prioritization, and some access to assistive tech. Where I would say, if I'm being honest, that it was more challenging was working with academic staff. Because I don't really think it's very genuine to come on here and say like that it was all sunshine and rainbows. Um, I would say there was like situations where when I asked for accommodations, like people said no to me and I had to kind of like put up pressure on my university to give me those accommodations. And I did face kind of like some attitudes that were quite unhelpful. I feel like a lot of my lecturers were kind of surprised that I was there. Um, but I learned a lot about self-advocacy, which I think for everyone with a disability, unfortunately, is an important skill. And I did get the accommodations that I needed in the end. But at times, yeah, I had to fight for it a bit more than I suppose is ideal. But the they do have like a legal obligation to provide you with reasonable accommodations, and if you put pressure on them and if you advocate for yourself, you can get those supports in higher level.
Yeah, that's great. And like I think it's such an important thing. You mentioned that you were able to access different things. I think it's interesting because I personally was an undergrad, BA undergrad, and I didn't have my disability diagnosis. And then when I went to my master's and I had my diagnosis, like just the difference in like what I was able to access was so interesting. And I wonder what that's like in the apprenticeship world, Sinead, how you found accessing supports. I suppose the course you were in wasn't for you, but did you find accessing the supports okay?
Yeah, I found accessing supports really good. Because I forgot to mention him before. I like a big reason why college didn't like after I came out of the level 8, I didn't feel like I didn't know what to do was because I was actually diagnosed autism um in like the beginning of my 3rd year, which was my Erasmus year. So I didn't really get like supports in college until my final year. So, and even then, I wasn't really sure of what I was able to get. I didn't feel like I could because there was a level of imposter syndrome there because just, I don't know, being like diagnosed. So it was really nice to come into the apprenticeship and be more sure of myself and be more aware of what I was able to get. So the FIT who like run the apprenticeship, they kind of said that if anyone needs support, go to like the wellbeing officer, I think was her role. So I booked a call with her and she went through like a needs assessment and all the things that are available to me, and the whole way through she was there for me and like helped me like assisting me in approaching my workplace mentor and making sure I was accommodated both in the classroom and in the workplace. And the whole time I just felt really supported and validated and like as entitled to be there as anyone else. Um, yeah.
That's so amazing to hear just in general that you guys have like also like learning to advocate for yourself, but being supported in those spaces is so important as well. Kayleigh, have I come to you yet? I can't remember now.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I found currently in my current like education institute now, accessing support was so simple. And even for me, when I had that first experience, it put a bad taste in my mouth, and I actually wondered, God, did I make the right decision in maybe not sitting what I should have? Do I need to go back? Did I make? And it was so beyond stressful. But as soon as I joined and I went through my needs assessment, they were like, okay, and is that meant to be a problem? And it was just like this sense of relief, to have those accommodations in place, to have people behind you. So, like I said before, I'm such a big advocate for your education should work for you. You shouldn't work for your education just to achieve something and put yourself out over it. Of course, it's going to be hard, as is anybody who goes through education. It's not meant to be a breeze, but you have a right to those supports, as Cara said, like you have a legal right to those supports. You should get those supports. And it is sad that the reality is a lot of the time you have to fight for them. Or even in my case, I just have to say, I've been fighting too much. This isn't going to suit me and move. But that's the biggest message I think I could give you is in accessing supports, it should be simple and you should feel comfortable in it. Like I would tell everybody now, don't go on to college, go do a PhD first. Like I'm such a big advocate for it now, which is funny because I had that original idea of, my God, am I meant to do this?
So funny. Yeah, I personally had like similar experience to most of you guys. I dropped out of college 3 times before I ended up finding the right course for myself. I did a PLC, I went and did an arts course in Maynooth, and then I eventually ended up in NCAD myself. And then I stayed there way too long because I did an undergrad and a master's there. But yeah, I completely agree that like learning to advocate for yourself is so, so important. And I was also in the student union, so that's kind of where I learned those things. But before then, I had no idea of kind of the supports that could be available or that I could like do these different routes and get like essentially end up in like the space I want to be in without putting so much pressure on myself and yeah, like just kind of burning myself out the entire time. Um, so I have another question myself, but I see there's a question in the chat, so we might save a few minutes at the end for those questions. But Kayleigh, you touched on this a second ago. Just do you have any advice for anyone looking at these options? So as an FET student, do you have any advice for looking at those options?
I think something that I would say is, for me personally, looking at maybe a lot of my friends that did go on to college, definitely at first I was like, you're missing out on the experience. You kind of want to be there yourself. But taking the time was the best thing that I ever done because one, if I did that degree and they weren't supportive, I would have found myself in a very scary and difficult situation to navigate. But two, so I found myself in a completely different course in something that if you told me 5 years ago that I was going to be doing, I would have no idea. I would have laughed. Um, but it's so worth it and it might take you a little bit longer, but it's beyond words how valuable it is to have an education that's worth it to you, that accommodates you and that you're comfortable in, you feel supported in. Not to mention that you can go on and do more, like you can go from a level 5 to a level 6, or I know a lot of people that maybe in my course did other level 5s and they just love it so much that they think that this is their way of kind of figuring those things out. At the end of the day, I know I'm talking about my age group, and a lot of them are still quite young, so they're not really worried about that. And I just think that's such an amazing mindset to be in. So you will find your path, and even if it takes you a little bit longer, I promise you the journey is meant to be amazing. And if it's not amazing, something's wrong.
That's amazing answer. I love that. I might ask the same question to you, the top two. Well, you guys are above me in the video. I was about to be like the top two, but Sinead, I might come to you. Just let me reword the question or remind you of the question. But do you have any advice for people looking at kind of apprenticeships or anything like that?
Um, yeah. I don't know, like, I feel like I just kind of fell into it nearly, so I don't really know what I'd say about like learning about it. But I definitely say like if there's an area that you want to go into and there's a apprenticeship for it, go for it. Because especially say if you struggle with like the classroom kind of setting, it's really nice to be just like in the workplace and learning hands-on. Um, but like that can be really nice at like a different pace to just pure classroom learning. And as well, just kind of in general, to like ask questions to, I don't know, anyone and everyone. Be like, if you like can find apprentices, ask them questions, ask questions to people running apprenticeships. Like there's no stupid questions, genuinely. The more information you can collect, the more, I don't know, you can know about this stuff. And as well, I feel like just kind of in general, um, there's like I feel like a lot of people might be hesitant to go into like things that aren't college, because they don't want to be slowed down. But I really feel like you're better off slowing down. I feel like if I hadn't gone into college in the first place, I don't know, would have, I don't know, maybe picked a course that suited me better or like done better in it. Just because I would, I don't know, be more sure of myself. So I don't know, take the time and ask questions about like whether you're, I don't know, in the course or when you're trying to find out about the course. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, take your time and ask questions. That's the best thing I
Yeah,
can say, I think.
yeah, definitely. I would be of the exact same opinion. And Cara, I might come to you as well on this question, just like any advice on anyone looking at kind of going in straight into higher education?
Um, I think something that's really important to remember, and Sinead kind of touched on this earlier, is that you have a right to be in any classroom, you have a right to be in any lecture, you have a right to be in any course, in the same exact way as everyone else, and you have a right to be educated in a way that meets your needs. You know, you are not an inconvenience, you're not looking for special treatment, because those I know are words that can be thrown around. You have, and a lot of time we have so much to bring. We have different experiences, different ways of thinking about things. Um, and I think like education is so amazing, and it doesn't matter if it's university, if it's further education, if it's an apprenticeship. I think, yeah, just trying something new, and it doesn't matter if it takes longer. I dropped out of a course before I did my course. I didn't sit some of my exams and then did repeats. Um, as long if you're moving forward at a slow pace, you'll still at a slower pace than others, you'll still get there in the end. It's never like a waste of time. There's never a rush. Um, yeah, I think kind of like Kayleigh said, it should be as enjoyable or as unpainful for you as possible. And I think, yeah, it's a really great opportunity to get to access any form of education. So you
Oh,
should do
guys, you're
your
giving
best
such
with it.
great answers, such great answers. Someone asked a question in the chat, but I might reword it slightly, so we can get a bit of context before I ask it. But are there any reasonable accommodations that you kind of got in your course? And like, for example, did you use any assistive technology? Did you get to take frequent breaks? Did you get to kind of submit assignments or CA in different formats? Yeah, I don't know. I might come to you, Kayleigh.
Yeah, so for me, what I have in place is frequent breaks because I have a mobility impairment, which allows me to kind of get up and do my own thing, and everybody's again been super accommodating. Nobody even really bats an eye for it. I also have all my stuff is uploaded, or any lectures that I'm not there for are recorded in some capacity. And also something that is a really brilliant resource that we have is my class is actually the most amazing people. And I think you kind of find that, I suppose, in that degree anyways. But we actually have kind of groups and things are always being put in because there's actually a few people in the class that maybe have their own reasonable accommodations. So it's like a group that essentially helps us figure out what's going on in classes that are missed and just, I suppose, keep an eye on each other, make sure that we're all progressing along in the same way.
Sorry, I muted myself there. That's so amazing though, and I think the community of it as well is so important. Um, but sorry, I'm just reading the chat there. Yeah, I might ask Sinead, was there any reasonable accommodations or assistive technology you used while studying?
Yeah, I'd get extra exam time for when there was exams. And I was able to get notes in advance because I find that when like notes are presented for the first time, I cannot comprehend. I need to see them myself and then go through them. Um, that was sometimes difficult. I have to kind of keep on the teachers to be like, "Hello, I need the notes." Um, but those are the main two things. think there was more open to me, but they were the main two things I availed of.
Yeah, I was the same. I was kind of open to having assistive technology. I used it was a recording device that I could use during lectures, which was amazing. Now, I only got access to that once I was diagnosed, but there is a question in here that says, like, how do you know what supports you might need? And I suppose that's a very personal thing. Like you just said there, Sinead, there were so many options, but you chose the ones that were most applicable to you.
Mm.
And then someone else asked, what kind of supports are you able to access? So kind of similar thing, but you can check in on every institutional website what's available in the access office there. Um, yeah, we're actually finished a little early, so I don't know if you guys have anything else you'd like to say before jumping off, but um, yeah, I just want to thank you again. You're all such great speakers. There's amazing feedback in the chat there. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Just saying how brave you are to speak, and you give brilliant insight into all your different courses. So it's great. Um, and yeah, I love to share my experience personally. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think opportunities like this are so great because it helps to send out information to other people, but also kind of reduce the stigma around talking about stuff like this. So just want to thank you for all being so candid and kind about it all.
If I could also just pop in for 2 seconds, kind of
Yeah, go
on
for
one of the
it.
questions of, I suppose, supports when you don't know what you need. I think a really great thing is that, in a sense, you're not really meant to know what you need. And I think that's a great thing about having disability support services is that they might have, I suppose, have a little bit of knowledge on that of maybe what past students have done, and I suppose finding those accommodations. So they're a really great help, and I suppose in navigating that journey alongside you, as opposed to you maybe fighting for it. Now, I think later down the line, if you're like, okay, well, maybe this accommodation might benefit me, that's when you maybe, I suppose, what we were talking about when we're putting on pressure or things that were previously agreed, that then maybe you're not being held up to. But I think that's the best thing is disability support services are there to support you, even if you don't know what supports you need yourself.
Yeah, it's also, I would say, like, I completely agree with you. And it's also kind of a method or a trial and error thing because there's some things that may work for other people with the same disability as you, but maybe like it doesn't work. Like, I know people who use different softwares because they're easier to use for that specific person, or like people with the same disability as me require different reasonable accommodations all the time. Trying to think what else I was going to say there. I can't remember. But yeah, I just want to thank you all for coming to speak to us today. It's very kind to give up your Saturday afternoon. So really, really appreciate it. And I might end the panel here. We might take 2 minutes just to set up for the next talk. But just to get, once again, thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it. See you later.
Thank you.
And I might, no
Thanks.
worries. Thank you.
Thanks.